Good morning. You will notice that I'm now in 16 by 9. Screw you, Bezic. I may be an absolute boomer, but I do know some things. I don't know why I had it 1-to-1, but anyway. So found this lovely little article from Liberty Unyielding. Anti-white activists equate productivity and good manners with whiteness. The anti-racism movement is ironic. Anti-racist activists equate whiteness with the very characteristics needed for success, such as timeliness, planning ahead, self-reliance, minimizing mistakes, and being polite. Being polite is white supremacy, apparently. Okay. Even as they disparage white people, they deride essential values exhibited by successful people of all races as being white supremacy culture, which is how you get to things like Larry Elder, a black conservative candidate in California, being the black face of white supremacy. Yeah. And I've probably said white supremacy so many times now in this video that it'll probably be yeeted completely before it really uploads. Uh, but yeah, uh, deriding the essential virtues exhibited by successful people of all races as white supremacy. Uh, I agree with Liberty Unyielding's conclusion here. That kind of seems racist. Yeah. Not really the conclusion. The article goes on for a while, but I've got the salient point. Um, Manners is something that tends to be a little lacking in many people today. And the thing that I really don't understand, and yes, I do realize I'm not tapping on my camera, didn't make much of a difference. Sorry. Excuse me. Forgot that I was on camera for a second there. Anyway, that's kind of following my point pretty well about manners. But manners were already starting to slip before the internet became a big thing. And now, with the addition of digital anonymity, more or less, you have to realize you're not actually anonymous online. Someone who is committed to the idea can find you. Now, would someone that you were rude to, and simply rude to, go to that trouble? No, of course not. They'd simply do what any sensible person should do. Click block. Bye-bye. Right? But of course, yeah, when you're anonymous, it's quite easy to allow your rage to take over as well. Almost needs a pulse on the back of my neck to get a draw through that. Oh, little wonder there's a bloody big twig in the middle of it. Anyway, to come back out of my native accent, the experience that triggered this particular video was I joined a new online forum yesterday. I won't say where, I won't say what service, anything like that. I don't wish to throw anyone under the bus. It may be that the people involved were having a bad day, or were inexperienced youngsters who just didn't know the difference. And I think a lot of the time inexperience tends to explain a lot of the lack of manners. How to put it? If you've never been punched in the face for being a, well, I won't use those words, but if you've never been punched in the face for your words, it's easy to keep using words that you shouldn't. Okay, thought I saw something in the cup. Nothing's swimming in there, so that's all that matters. But when your manners are degrading, and not on a personal level, but on a social level, it's a sign that your society is in trouble. Now, one of the things that attracts me to the idea of moving south to somewhere like Texas or Kentucky or Tennessee is that people still maintain that old school level of formality and manners. Uh, though I would say it's probably more appropriate to call it semi-formal, where people say yes ma'am, yes sir, things like that. Now, myself, I still say yes sir, thank you sir, thank you ma'am, right? Now, also, being in Newfoundland, we tend to be a little more familiar with our wording, so we'll say things like sweetheart, darling, dear, at the end of our thank yous. And in a way, you can substitute the words sir and ma'am for... Actually, sir tends to be pretty much universal. Uh, I don't generally say thanks, dear, to another man, for example. I'll say thank you, sir, for someone holding the door for me, what have you. Which is probably indicative of some sort of misogyny on my part, of course. But when you start to denigrate basic manners, basic politeness, as some form of character flaw or cultural flaw, for lack of a better term, what you're doing is signaling that you don't care as much about people as you do about your ideology. Because if you cared about people, if you cared about actually improving the situation that people find themselves in, you would not discourage people from being hardworking or timely or polite. You would encourage these things because that is how a culture binds itself. If everyone around you constantly ignored basic propriety and treated you like part of the scenery, or treated everyone else like part of the scenery, then your culture can't, your society and your culture cannot survive because you're ignoring other people as a basic part of your community, your society. And if people believe that things like manners, saying please, thank you, even just a simple hello, how are you, right? Over and over, customer service tends to be one of the things I bang on about because I've had a bunch of those jobs and I'm not suited to them. But I do know what I perceive to be good customer service. If I walk up to someone in, say, a Walmart who's wearing a blue smock and stocking a shelf, and I know then that I'm in their section, and I ask them a question, or I say hello, and their response is yes, or uh-huh, or they just look at me. That's, I mean, yeah, they're doing their job, but, I mean, come on. You're dealing with the public. Now, granted, when it comes to Walmart, there's very little emotional investment in the success of that place when you're an employee. If you were in a small family-run business, what I would expect, if it was the same sort of thing, say a grocery store, and it was a small family-owned business, what you would be more likely to expect and hope for, and what would bring you back, which is more important, is someone looking at you and going, hello, how are you? What can I do for you today? Or something like that. You know, be nice to your customers. Yeah, and I know it's beyond some people to be nice all the time. Hi. But, I mean, I do know I'm not suited to customer service because quite often I'm a sarcastic asshole. But The real point that I'm trying to make is that nobody succeeds if nobody's friendly. And it's not difficult to be friendly. Yeah, I understand life is a fucking shithole right now. Generally, all the time. If that's your attitude. Now, you can maintain that attitude and completely fail all the time. Or you can, just put what's going on at home out of your mind and do your job. Then when you get home, put what happened at work out of your mind, do your home. It's not that hard to compartmentalize certain things. Now, granted, if you have some sort of crisis happening, and if you paid attention to the news, we always have a crisis happening. It's almost like they want everyone's, what's the stress center in the brain? Well, it's almost like they want everyone's cortisol receptors to just burn out. They just want everyone stressed all the time, especially if you pay attention to the news, the actual mainstream news. I mean, that's terror porn at this point. And shake again. But when it comes to manners and binding a society together, it doesn't take much. You just have to be polite. And one of the things that I don't understand is how people in the States, a country where a lot of people go strapped a lot of the time, they don't seem to have the ability to anyway, yeah, manners and society go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. I have to rush. I have an errand I have to do. And because I'm such a boomer, I don't think I can pause this for very long and it not shut itself off. But the final point is this. If you think manners, someone being polite, is an indication that they're racist, there's something very wrong with your thinking. Anyway, hopefully you're all having a good day. Love you all. Take it easy. Rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.